Hi, welcome to Restrocast. Today my guest is Fay Economides. Fay is one of the most successful restaurateurs in Dubai. She runs two brilliant brands, Mythos and Nola. Mythos is known for Greek food, authentic Greek food, or rather I would say authentic Greek food experience. And Nola is what all like the fun and chill is about. Conversation with Fay is special because of multiple reasons, but the first and foremost being Dubai is a market where anybody will tell you that restaurants don't have a very, very long life. It's a market where, who's who of the world want to open a restaurant. They do open the restaurant. There's so many new things happening all the time that for restaurateurs, it's like a treadmill. And Fay is one of those entrepreneurs in this market who built a brand, compounded it over almost a decade, carries a loyal customer base, and does it with flair. What you're going to see in the conversation is why. What I found in Fay was somebody who's in an absolute zen and at peace with what she's doing, while still carrying the ambition to grow her brand, but not at the cost of eroding the customer experience. Very, very proud of what she has built while maintaining a calm demeanor in where she wants to go. This was a great conversation. I'm sure you're going to love it. Welcome to Restrocast. Hey, welcome to Restrocast.
Thank you for having me. It's my first podcast, so we'll be learning.
Oh, this is your first podcast. This is awesome.
Inaugural one.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. That makes it sweeter. I want to talk about, all Mythos and Nola and the good work that you're doing. But we'll start from the start.
Okay.
I want to know your early years and where it all started.
Okay. So I was born in Athens, Greece, which is where I'm from. But at a very early age, we moved out of our home country, and the first stop was in Tunisia. So my very first, let's say, memories are from Tunis, near the sea, with camels and the foods of the Tunisian foods, and having a multinational, set of little friends. I remember my kindergarten next to the sea. The first time I heard, the call to prayer. So all of these things were very important milestone from the age of 3.
Why was it international,
Because I was in a kindergarten where a lot of expats were, so kind of like Dubai is. It wasn't obviously as international, but I met kids from different backgrounds for the first time at the age of 3, and the language barrier. So I didn't speak French. I went and I didn't speak. I spoke only Greek, and I remember struggling to understand everybody, and feeling a little bit out of my depth, out of my comfort zone from
At 3.
age 3.
And you remember that? Like you
remember
have
that.
memories of that?
I do. And then I remember just about as I was embracing the changes and getting comfortable and, loving the place, we left again. And this time was to Bahrain at age 5. Again, language transition, English.
Oh, right. Okay. Of course.
Another, school, another language, another set of people. So I think from a very young age, I had to be adaptable and, learn how to deal with difficulties and get through these obstacles. And I saw both the painful part of it and the joy of, expanding my experiences, including culinary. Like the best croissant I've ever had in my whole life was in Tunisia. And the last time I had it, I was 5 years old, but I still can feel it on my taste buds.
Oh, that must hurt, no?
I need to go back and hunt for this bakery, So
don't do that.
Yeah, I should do that.
Don't do that.
No. Just leave it as it is, huh?
It'll get spoiled, right? If you don't get the same taste, you'll
get
be
disappointed.
Like, yes.
Correct. And then Bahrain, I spent most of my life, apart from the Gulf War, where I left. Actually, I left for summer and never went back, and that was a bit traumatic. No, not that I never went back. I went back after the war was over, but for me, I didn't know that. It was like I will never go back. And
Yeah.
my best friends to date are still friends from my school in Bahrain, and that I still hang out with today.
And Bahrain, I assume, was also quite international.
It was great. I mean, very international. There was nothing there, nothing to do as a teenager. There was no movie theaters. There was no arcades. We were on our bikes in the desert, roaming around. Kids of the 80s and 90s. No mobile phones, nothing. Just knew we had to be home by dark. And the fact that we just had to get creative with each other on how to pass the time created these really, really lifetime bonds with the friends that I still hang out with today. They're like family, and I'm blessed that a lot of them live here in Dubai.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I did all of my schooling there, and then I went to the UK. So the next transition was going to the UK for university. Spent there 4 years, and went to Greece, which I did not really enjoy, surprisingly, because I found the thinking very homogenous. I always used to be surrounded by people with diverse thinking, creative ways of approaching things, critical thinking skills. And when I was in Greece, I felt it was kind of a one-way street for everybody, and
a robotic program.
So I didn't fit in very much, and I came to Dubai in 2005, and I've been here ever since. Yeah.
So when you went to Greece, you were like one of those confused locals or confused, I mean, there's this funny Indians, they call themselves Desis. You might have heard that, right?
I know that, yeah.
So the second generation and third generation Indian kids, especially, our generation, let's say millennials, or, so there's a term for that. It's called ABCD.
Okay.
American born confused Desi.
Oh, wow.
And ABCD is a legit thing, right? These are the kids who were either born and raised or like from a very tender age, were in the US, and they come back to India and they're like, they're Desi, but they're super confused.
Yeah.
Because nobody can relate to them. They can't relate to anyone. They look like, they sound American and they think American, and you're like, dude, what's happening with you?
Exactly. So you kind of don't fit in. And yeah, I struggled with that to the point that, I was like, I can't stay here anymore. I have, some fun memories, and Greece is a beautiful country. Like, you can go for the weekend to so many diverse places. In an hour from the city, you're in the mountains or in an island or in a little village somewhere. But other than that, like, I need human connection, like proper human connection, and that was lacking. So as much nature as there was, and beauty and great food and culture, I'm ultimately happier in Dubai.
You like chaos?
Yeah, I like controlled chaos.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
All city rats. I hear you.
Yeah,
Then
for
what?
sure, for sure. So Dubai is home, and
So why did you come to Dubai in the first place? I mean, of course, this was like the decision was not to be in Greece, but then why Dubai?
Yeah, so my husband at the time got a job here, and my brother was also already here, so we moved because of his job, and I resigned and came here, and then immediately upon coming here, we started a family.
What were you working in? You resigned from?
I was in mergers and acquisitions, actually. So I have a kind of financial banking background. And that was what I'd done. My master's and my studies have been in economics and political sciences.
That is what you studied in UK?
Yeah, that's what I studied in the UK. And coming here, so we started the family. Like I discovered I was expecting my first child almost within a month of coming to Dubai. So I said, do I get back onto the crazy corporate cycle, expecting my first child? I haven't lived in Dubai before, or do I try to take it easy a little bit? about 3 months into taking it easy, I start getting, restless. And I approached my brother, who was entering the hospitality realm. And I asked him if I can support in any way. So we started working together in hospitality.
Why was he entering hospitality?
It was a family business. So
What about, like, what kind of business?
yeah, hotel. So he started a hotel, and after a few months into the hotel opening, there was a space that needed to be defined, and we brainstormed and decided that we should do a Greek restaurant. And that was the sort of where our real partnership was born, working together to come up with concept, brand, find this.
Where was this hotel?
In Dubai, in the Majestic Hotel. So we
That's there?
it's still there under different ownership.
No.
So we started our first restaurant there called Elia, and a lot of people still bring it up to me to this day. Like even last week, people that I meet, and there was a restaurant in Portugal. Yeah, that's us, Elia.
Oh, wow.
There's
How long back was that? What year?
2007.
2007. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
16 years, and if people are bringing it up.
Yes. It
That's
was
amazing.
a well-loved place. And I'd say, now with the opening, like our latest opening and everything, it was more, I don't know how to choose the right words for it, but we were much less experienced. And I think we did a great job with it, but I don't know how we did that great of a job with it, if that makes sense. Like,
It does and does not, like, because there's definitely I mean, when you're saying that 16 years, and people are still bringing that up, definitely the food experience, if nothing else, the experience of food was superlative. So I'm sure you did something right. What was that? What were, like, you were naive, you probably were inexperienced, but what were you focusing on when you were conceptualizing that restaurant? What was going on?
the main thing was to bring the reality of this amazing cuisine that we have to a market that has no idea about it. Greek. Because if you look at the tradition of what exported Greek, or like you mentioned, the American-born, confused Desis, there's a generation of Greeks in Germany or in Europe or in the US as well, who is not my generation, say, is the previous generation, who opened restaurants. And in my mind, what I see when I see those restaurants are statues and a lot of blue and very stereotypical cuisine, which it's not the experience. You don't go to Greece and eat like that. So I wanted to bring both my brother and I, that was the idea, to bring that authentic Greek. How are people dining in our home country now? Like, what is the modern version of this? And that was, the vision behind it. There's a lot of challenges, especially with regards to chefs. So we were lucky enough to work with a very well-known chef back in Greece. His name is Yannis Baksavanis. And we met him here in Dubai. He was visiting a restaurant called Teatro, which is a long-standing restaurant here in Dubai. He was coming for a couple of days. And great guy, very talented. So he helped us, a little bit with the menu and staffing and things like that. And it was a good partnership that worked successfully. And a couple of years into the restaurant, Alex is my brother, we were like, well, okay, we have a knack for this. I think people do like it. We started receiving some awards for the restaurant and things like that, and the good feedback. So we kept on the lookout for the next venture, and it took a while to find the right spot.
Generally, my assumption is, and I think Dubai is a little, different that way, I know, before asking, but, it's difficult for restaurants that are inside hotels to really stand out for the audience that is not coming to the hotel, but walking into the restaurant. and majorly your captive base, your insurance, is always your, captive customers at the hotel. What was that like? Was it like, how did it stand out so much?
I think that from a branding perspective, we treated it like a standalone restaurant, in the sense that, even the collaterals, back then there was still a lot of printed collateral, and you would go to a hotel and a lot of the restaurants didn't have very strong branding or concept identities. They were just kind of plugged in to the hotel. Oh, we need a Japanese. Oh, we need an all-day dining. Oh, we need a American. And there wasn't like a really strong concept or brand back then. I'm not talking about today's market. So we decided that this is going to be treated, and even the P&L was treated like a standalone restaurant. It had to be with all the expenses allocated.
But why? Why would you, like? Why did you do that? This is quite a forward thinking. But why?
I mean, we really wanted to see if it stands on its own merit, and we knew that to attract local residents, this place needed to have its own character, its own branding, its own personality. Otherwise, it would just get lost in the sea of hotel offerings. And it was just, I guess, in the back of our minds, we were thinking of also expanding in the restaurant business. So in order to see if this is working properly and if this can work, like a pilot, you could say. I mean, this was not all in our heads. Oh, let's make a pilot. Let's do a Greek recipe. I think it was just kind of organically there in the thinking.
Evolving as you were.
Evolving as we were doing, yeah. And that's the reason. And I do believe it helped make it memorable to the customer, and to help it stand out among its peers.
For how long did you do that?
More than a decade. Yeah.
Oh, so
they overlapped. With Mythos, they overlapped.
It's called Elia.
Elia. Yeah.
Elia.
It's no longer open, but. Yeah.
But it was until 2017, you were saying?
Yeah, we were involved until 2017. Then it rolled a little bit under new management, and then ultimately with COVID and everything, it became more challenging. It's closed now.
Oh, with the new owners. Yeah. Got it. Back to your Elia days. So you ran Elia for 10 years, but what happened in between? Like, when did you decide to actually expand outside?
I mean, I think 2009, 2010, we were already starting to look for opportunities, seeing that there was something promising there with Alex. And it took us a while. We looked at a lot of locations. There was a period of time where things were on fire in Dubai, and rents and commercial terms are very, very challenging for standalone operators looking to do things. But ultimately, we were lucky to find the location in JLT, which.
JLT back in 2010.
We were looking at 2014. The JLT location materialized.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And we opened in 2015.
But what between 2007 to 14? You didn't have another location?
No. Okay. In terms of F&B, within the hotel, we had other F&B things going on. But in terms of restaurants, that was the main focus.
I'm assuming that JLT might have come up in that time period,
yes,
only, right?
Yeah.
That was the time when...
Exactly. 2015, JLT opened. So from 2014, we were, constructing, designing, and Mythos and Nola were two brands. So doing two simultaneously has its own challenges. And it takes time to develop your concept and execute it truly. So yeah. And then 2015 we opened. So there was that whole first year of the two concepts in JLT also.
Why not Elia?
Mythos was more tailored to the target market of JLT,
That was?
being I mean, Elia had a bit of a modern contemporary twist, and we wanted to go more to roots rather than have the more modern contemporary Greek cuisine. And we felt that the market there would be more receptive to that, to simplify and really get the traditional recipes down. So even the concept in JLT, when we were looking at it, was a sort of elevated modern taverna. Now I think we're more like in City Walk, restaurant. So it evolves depending on what you feel is the market and your audience, because from then till now, the audience perception of Greek cuisine, all things Greek, it's like day and night. It's like a 180-degree turn.
You mean the liking or just the education?
Education and liking, because the more they knew about it, the more they liked it.
Because, I mean, a lot of Greek restaurants, a lot of Greek cuisine is there.
Now, yes, and well executed Greek cuisine, because there have been attempts in the past, which I felt actually was detrimental to the name of Greek cuisine. So the more good Greek restaurants there are, the happier that.
One like noteworthy for me is Gaia.
Of course,
So
I think now in the last 5 years, what people understand about Greece and Greek food, they can embrace something like Gaia, but maybe 15 years ago, the market wouldn't have been ready for it.
Yeah.
So,
Dynamics of working with your brother. How does that work?
It's amazing. It makes me happy. I love working with him. We have been through a lot in our lives together, challenges and difficulties, and we have kind of a similar temperament in the terms of like grit and easygoing communication, lack of ego, respect. So it works very well.
You're checkboxing everything that partners need to have in general.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll have good days and bad days, but
yeah, I mean, we don't have many bad days. I'm very happy to say that there is I don't feel any strain at all. I mean, we've been working together now since since 2005. So I can't say, for example, it was better then, and the whole time we have always had a really good relationship and respect for each other. Our skill sets are largely complementary.
Define.
He's very, very good with technical skills, MEP, HVAC, CAD, all this kind of stuff, which I have over the years learned a lot from him. So now I can even...
Like, why does he need that? Like designing your own stuff, own spaces?
It's kind of like, when you go to the doctor and you don't know anything and you just have to rely on what the doctor tells you. But if you know a little bit about you can say, actually, I'm not sure. It's the same thing with all of this stuff. The more you know, the less reliant you are on somebody telling you that this is the way it has to be.
Correct.
So, if you know something about financials, you can challenge your, financial director or your auditor or whatever and see, does this make sense? It's the same.
And, it baffles me, with due respect to all the professionals out there, it baffles me that how many times your intervention is actually correct.
So many.
I mean, it just baffles me.
So many. Because nobody's going to take care of it as well as you're going to take care of your own thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's that the God element is just that how the situation is occurring to you, right? What becomes a matter of life and death, if I may say. Like it's exaggeration, of course, but right,
Yeah.
Unless unless everything feels like or that issue feels like the matter of life and death, you don't get creative about it. I mean, so many times I intervene and end up giving solutions to, or I don't know, not even giving solutions, probably just herding them and steering them by asking the right question. They of course know the law or the craft better with accountants, finance people, lawyers, even for that matter, technical. I mean, I run a tech company, though I'm an engineer and, I understand, code, but at the same time, I'm not coding for last, I don't know, 15 years. Right. But yeah, it just baffles me that how much entrepreneurial grit and creative thinking, just feeling the fire
Yes.
under you
Yes.
can like make you smarter.
And entrepreneurs are firemen. They just put out fires all day out, right? So the more you get things right from the beginning, the less fires you have to put out in the process, right?
Yeah.
So leave no stone unturned, no question unasked.
Yeah, matter of
challenge
life and death,
everything.
right?
Matter
So
of life and
fireman
death.
is perfect analogy, right? It's the same page.
Exactly. So yeah, he's very good at all that kind of stuff. We're both very good with people, and we have a very good team, which we work with together. So there's a overlap in terms of leadership. We lead side by side, and we lead side by side with our team, and really have a good culture in the company in terms of openness, participation, having a say in strategy, the direction of the way things are going, making even choices about new openings, or everybody's involved, and we're involved to the choice of the fork, to the where to place everything. So that creates a really collaborative, warm climate where everybody feels they're contributing. And he's very good at making people feel that way, because it's the reality. Everybody has a seat at the table, and everybody's heard. So yeah, it's been great working with him.
And what's your side of the skills?
Finance, obviously with my background and things like that, and basically PR and doing things like this, putting my face out there. No, but generally, I tend to be more like front facing in terms of events and interacting with people, and Alex is more like not into that.
He's behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much on the scenes in terms of our between us.
Yeah, sure, but not in the public eye a lot.
Yeah, I think he doesn't prioritize that. He has 2 young kids as well, so my kids are a bit older, so the time factor, if you have an hour time, spend it with your little kids. Big kids don't come out of their rooms, so to say hello. So yeah, I think we both complement each other in different ways.
How old are your kids now?
17 and 14.
Yeah. And what do they feel about being restaurateurs?
They actually, they're very proud. They are my best word of mouth spreaders to parents of their friends in school. I remember them, doing food tastings practically since they were born. Always involved. The younger they were, the more, let's say, excited they were to be involved in everything. They have memories of attending meetings while they're doing their homework, and me taking calls while they're doing a swimming competition. Technology has been a blessing in that sense. Sure. That I am a walking office. Wherever I am, I have laptop.
So they're already trained restaurateurs. They just don't know that yet, or do they know that?
What, that they're going to be restaurateurs?
No, that they're already trained restaurateurs. I mean, whether they choose or not is a separate problem.
I think that they know that. They even worked. They've worked in the kitchen a little bit, just to get some couple of hours there of experience and things like that. They have a say. And if they don't like something, they will immediately send me a picture if they're there with their friends or something, about the playlist, the lighting, the uniform. So yeah, they do have. They inadvertently, I think, picked up a lot of skills along the way. And my son is very interested in culinary things. He's been watching cooking shows since he was 2. He's been like commenting on Gordon Ramsay's YouTube since he was 8.
Wow. Yeah, that's some training. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. But I don't know. They're both musicians. So I think currently the thinking is we want to pursue music, but let's see.
When will that creativity turn into? I mean, as I said, I'm sure it will dawn on them sometimes that, oh, this we know like back of our hand.
Yeah. And they have the odd habits that we have. I go to a restaurant and turn over the plate to see the brand, or they do that too. So they've definitely picked up some stuff from us.
What's been the journey with Mythos and Nola?
Mythos
and Nola, you said you opened you start both of them like almost like the same time at JLT, right?
Yeah.
So these 2 brands were born at the same time.
Correct.
So where are you at today with Mythos and Nola?
Yeah, I mean, we just recently opened a second one of each, again next to each other in City Walk, and there is an evolution of the brand there. The decor and the design is, a little bit more fitting for today, and for the location. I'm always grateful and a little bit surprised at how strong the brands keep going after, now 8-9 years. It's a pleasant surprise. And I feel like they're my babies. Alex and I feel like that. We put a lot of passion and time and effort.
Especially in a market like Dubai, where like the common wisdom is that restaurants don't have
a long lifespan,
right? It'll come and go. Even if it goes great, there's going to be there's a life to it, right?
Yeah, but I think that if you are lucky enough, or maybe it's not just luck, but if you manage to create a good product and a good brand, if you are able to deliver on that brand consistently, day in, day out, day in, day out, consistent, you can overcome that challenge. So if you have dishes that people crave, you go away and you think, oh, I can't wait to go back and have that dish, and you go back and the dish is the way it's supposed to be, the way that they remember, the way they crave it, and it happens consistently. You can overcome the whole longevity thing, and then you reach that point of that nostalgia,
that needs a decade to compound, right?
Yeah, and then you get afraid because you're thinking, okay, should I change things up? It's been 8 years, should I do a few tweaks and changes? And you're like, no, don't touch anything, So I think we're in that place right now. We're trying to decide what to freshen up, how much to freshen up, how to not mess with this consistency and things that people have in their mind. I'm going to Mythos, I'm going to Nola, and this is what I'm going for, and this is why. But you still need to fresh a little bit, and keep it fresh.
Yeah, but I absolutely. But I think as a restaurateur, I was 13 years back, I used to have a small restaurant, and I think my learning from that restaurant was this: that people who liked your food, when they come back, they don't want a better dish. They want the same dish. You give them better, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I have actually legit had this conversation with a customer where, our chef changed. And, there was a particular dish in the Indian cuisine. It's lentils, black lentils. It's called dal makhani. And the new chef came, and he, of course, and this was my first time of a chef change, right? I mean, I was a 6-month-old restaurateur, and so I basically got another chef and said, okay, and we were very happy that we've got a better chef. And this guy is making like the amazing dal. And I remember I got a beating from a customer right there, where this guy said, what happened to your dal? I was like, this is better. He said, no. That restaurant is better. This one, I want the same. I was like, ouch. And I really begged that chef to come back. I was like,
wow,
please don't go anywhere till the time I get my, I'm able to wrap my head around what just hit me. But that was a big insight for me, because, and it was so normal, because as a customer, I always had that insight. As a business owner, as a restaurateur, it was very hard to, digest or being present to it. But as a consumer, I always had that insight. Of course, I go to my favorite restaurants to like have the same thing. I'm experiencing the smell, the taste, and the experience in my head as soon as I decide to go there.
Yeah. And if you don't get that,
Oh,
it's like messes with you.
disappointment. Yeah, it just
Yeah, so that's the challenge, I think. If you reach that time period, 5, 7, 8, 10 years, and you have to make a decision, how much freshening up, how much, and not to tamper, and really, don't be afraid to ask your customers. Get in, and I've been calling people left, right, and center. We want to do this. We're thinking of doing this. And they're like,
tell me that. Like, what's your, like, you're talking about something very interesting. Like, do you actively engage? Is there a process for you to engage with customers to really know what's working, what doesn't work, or making them try new things? How do you validate whenever you make some changes,
I mean,
if at all?
I won't necessarily reach out to customers that I don't know very well, but obviously a lot of our customers are from our network of people, right? So there's a good amount, let's say 20, 30, even 40 people that I, phone call away, that I will ask the questions, like even I'm thinking of making this section more plants, or, Alex has this idea of design, or we might even bring 5, 6 people. It's like, we're thinking this, and it'd be like, yes, no. And get the real proper feedback.
On the business side, this entire notion of, of course, holding your brand tight, customer experience, conserving that customer experience and dishes and cuisine, but it kind of is, it also meddles with the ambition, because you're not able to also grow fast enough, because you also don't want to change too much, right? And you don't want to let go. What's been your journey on that side?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been ever of the thinking of aggressive scaling, just because we do what our brands are about are really experiential, and I think there are certain concepts that are easier to scale than others. It's doable if you put the right resources in place. But I think ultimately it's about a life choice decision about the entrepreneur themselves. Do they want to get in that boat and sail away, or not? And I don't necessarily think that that's something that has like a time limit. Nobody's gonna, miss an opportunity if they don't do it now or they do it later, in my view. I don't feel like, the brand's hot now, we have to move now. I believe in decisions that come to you more organically than, if it feels right. And sometimes it's just a question of also the right elements fitting together at the right time, by chance.
But how do you not get in FOMO? And again, especially, Dubai is a crazy market. I feel like this is like New York on steroids. So I mean, there's so much happening all around you. There's and Dubai is at a different plane, right? Because it's not only that the market is shifting or changing, market is also getting created physically as well, right? So the expansion of the city, there's continuous, competition. There's also a lot of bling, in the sense that new restaurants coming in, sweeping the market, awards, Michelin Guide is here, and whatnot. How do you not, like, what's the school of thought that allows you to not participating in the FOMO?
Good question. I've never been one to really have FOMO. Alex and I both.
But there has to be some philosophy for the Zen.
I think it's just a question of priorities, like I feel like it's a life choice. When you decide that you're going to get on this boat, you have to sacrifice certain things yourself as an entrepreneur, as a person. Uh, and I think that, sometimes that choice is not ready there yet, if it ever comes. We prefer to do things at a different pace and not go all like,
But did you had bouts of desire to go all in?
not yet.
Not even like it didn't even occur? No spike?
Not yet. I'm not saying that it might not happen, but so far, um, I mean, one would have to go back to kind of try to understand the reasons why somebody would do that, right? Um, Obviously, the fact that it has to be viable, which I do think it can be. And a passion, which is there. But I think also, like, at our stage in our journey, doing like a huge expansion plan, let's go into 10 markets in 2 years, or I think it would take our personal resources so much so that, is it worth it? At this moment in time, that's not our style. We would be looking at organic growth, just like we've been growing at the pace that we've been growing. That makes more sense for us as our philosophy and our style of living. We can put in our resources personally, because we would have to be very involved.
What's keeping you passionate about this right now? What's exciting every day? Or every week or every month? I know excitement and passion can also be, over exaggerated terms, but what's keeping the fire?
To be honest, I'm so happy interacting with my team, Alex and I's team, that I just really, really enjoy, getting together, planning. There's always things going on in the business, brainstorming to come up with ideas. That interaction, that human interaction within the company, is what really makes me feel fulfilled every day. Like, I really enjoy interacting with our chef and our director of operations, the team, the support function teams, HR, finance. We have an office in JLT. I just like to be in the thick of it. Wake up with purpose every day. And ultimately, the purpose of all that is to continue to hear really good feedback from people that they really like going to these restaurants. And why do they, what is it that they enjoy so much? And because we purposely try to deliver that, when you hear that it's actually being received the way that you have it in your mind and enjoyed, and people express gratefulness for that, it's a great feeling. So that's it. You wake up, interact with people, make sure that what you want to deliver, you deliver it, and that people really have a place that they enjoy and they feel. A lot of people are very super regular, so they feel like it's part of their life. Going to Nola, going to Mythos, and that's the reason.
That's special.
Yeah.
Your journey as an entrepreneur over last, let's say, 10 years or 8 years, or pick the period, but how have you changed or evolved, or things that you recognize that, okay, this part of me is like not the same anymore, or for good or for bad, doesn't matter?
I think the main thing is more clarity on my intuition. I've always had like these internal dialogues of, yes, I think this should happen, this should not happen. And trusting that voice inside of me, I trust it a lot more now. Like, when my peers were telling me, about City Walk, a lot of people questioned it as a choice, whether, it's a good idea. But my intuition was telling me strongly that, this is a good choice. I think previously, in that battle between hearing external feedback, which goes against my intuition versus my intuition, it would have been more unsettling than in this particular moment.
Why do you think that happens?
The growth with the intuition, or why do you think you question your intuition? Both. I think that in earlier years, you question your intuition because you don't have enough of a track record to trust it. You know, it's like anything. You try it and then you see it works, you trust the process. So over time, when you see that your intuition turns out to be right the majority of time, you learn to trust that. So even if people that you actually look up to or, you know, are considered very successful in a particular area telling you opposite to your intuition. So I think it's just a question of growth, confidence, and a track record. And it's something that I've been, you know, acutely aware of and highlighting to myself that it's a good thing that you can listen to your intuition. Other than that, as an entrepreneur, I've had less moments of really intense stress than the early days.
Why so?
I think just, you know, a kind of envisioning a worst case scenario and saying, okay.
Whatever doesn't kill you has made
Exactly.
you strong. No, okay. What you used to stress about early days? And
I'll tell you, I had nightmares in JLT, recurring nightmare. I'm sitting in Nola and Mythos. It's all ready with Alex. We're sitting watching the door. Nobody's coming in. Nobody's coming in.
Oh, like actual
like
nightmares?
actual nightmares.
Yeah, okay.
So I'd wake
That's
up and I'd be
stressful.
like, you know, I put in all this work and we've invested in this and that and nobody came. So I actually had nightmares. So, you know, that would be the worst case scenario, right? So, and fortunately, very, very fortunately, Alex and I freak out not at the same time. So when, you know, and lately especially, I feel that he's even gone more of a, you know, okay, don't worry. These are not problems. We'll deal with it. You know, very comforting whenever I've had, COVID, I think I freaked out more than he did. Yeah, he was very reassuring during COVID. So our dynamic works even in those cases of stress. So I think generally experience, growth, maturity helps. I definitely think entrepreneurs who are like in their late 20s and 30s have it worse than people who are in their 40s.
For sure. I think it's also, you're right. I think it's just that, you know, you get a lot of A/B testing with your intuition, you know, over time. When did you trust it? What happened when you didn't listen to it? What happened? And vice versa as well. I mean, it fails you as well, but not all the time. Most of the time, it protects you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have been the failures that you feel were defining for you? Small, big, doesn't matter. As a restaurateur or personally, but what were the failure milestones in life?
I'm not really sure. I think as a mother entrepreneur, not failures exactly, but the struggle.
Fair.
That has been a real struggle because sometimes you feel, you know, you're trying to give some of you to every part of your life, and then you're not giving enough to any one part of those. And I try to manage that by periodically giving more attention to one thing over the other, rather than try to do it all at the same time. So if I had to focus on family, I, you know, put 70% of myself and my resources on the focus on the family and 30% on everything else. And then if work, if you're building restaurants or if you're, you focus more on that, then the family suffers a little bit more. Social life definitely sometimes has been less priority. So could I have done better? Of course. Anybody, it's a learning experience. Nobody was born with a manual how to work in the hospitality and raise a family and be balanced and be happy and do it all right. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a failure as such, but a struggle. That has been one of my biggest struggles is trying to give the best version of myself to everything in my life that needed my attention.
But did that, I mean, I'm sure that struggle, like did the struggle get over or you got over the struggle? Like, what happened?
I found a methodology. Yeah. So the struggle probably didn't get over. It evolves and it shifts and it changes. I have learned to be more forgiving of myself, and to be more, have less expectations of myself and not beat myself up when things don't go as well as I would like. And transparency with everybody, whether it's the kids or the work or just explain what's happening. Better than just try to put up the face. Everything's fine. No, we have a problem here. I need to give my attention here. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need your support.
Did you start doing it later in life? Because, and I'm just, I'm just going to put my, or state my perception. You definitely are a A type. You're a strong personality, high ownership. Did you start becoming, what you just shared, vulnerable later?
Yes,
more
for
as
sure.
a practice?
For sure, because I think as a younger woman in the banking sector, and I remember in my second job, I was really thrown into the deep end. I'll tell you a little anecdote. We were part of a subsidiary of a bank. It was like a private equity arm. And the CEO of that subsidiary didn't really have a good relationship with the bank. So in order to snub them, he would send me to they'd have these annual meetings or biannual meetings with all the subsidiaries, and the senior level people would go, but because he didn't want to give them face, he'd send me. So I was like, ouch. 23, 24, and I'd be there with these, very male 50s kind of room.
And finance world is,
finance
quite
world.
dominated.
And he would be like, whatever they say, just say that you're representing, take notes, and report back to me. So I think I felt that pressure. I mean, it was a very memorable experience for me. And I always felt the pressure that I needed to look older, more serious, have my things together. And that carried with me, even, just a few meetings that I had to attend like that I carried that with me in life in my earlier years, that I have to look like I'm super professional, have everything together, show no weakness, show no vulnerability. And that's what I did. And then eventually, I think actually when I, reached my late 30s, maybe I started realizing, and my family, and I have to actually just be who I am, and it's going to be okay.
What flipped? What flipped the switch?
I think just the real inability to just do that anymore. It got tiring. It got draining. And maturity. You learn to accept yourself and know yourself and understand that your abilities and who you are and your worth doesn't have to do with what face you present to people. And the response, slowly, I started getting, more deeply connected to people. I mean, my personal friends have been my personal friends, like I mentioned, since school. But in let's say the community in the world here, I have made some really nice friendships by just being myself. So it's a good decision.
I think this is one training that I personally feel that, no institution provides. Family is one institution which can kind of provide that. I'm sure your kids looking at your vulnerable side, or a more transparent what you see is what you get sort of side must be getting trained subconsciously, which I'm sure they'll later in life realize somewhere that, oh, you know what, this is the natural way. For example, I learned it from my dad. Uh, that yeah, this is how it is, and we deal with it, but this is how it is. There's no facade on this, right? And I realized it actually quite late that, oh, my reaction to something like this is flipping because subconsciously I had that training. It just settled today.
Right.
Suddenly, one day I said, no, wait. We're not lying. Tell them this is how we feel. And we're still here. And I realized, oh, wow, I just acted like my dad. And I didn't know that. It was there. I had my own personality, but then it shifted. But that training, I think, as an entrepreneur is super, super important because so much can get solved just by, what you're saying.
Being authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, with regards to the kids, the reason that I think they've seen me be so much myself, apart from the professional, let's say, side of me, is because I have my school friends. So when we get together, we go back to our teen years, and there's no, we don't hold back. So they see a bunch of people in their 40s, being completely raw and themselves. But I think also, she especially my daughter, because she's 17, and she does see that I put myself out of my comfort zone more, and I'm increasingly feeling more comfortable with that. And today with social media, this next generation, that's going to be a challenge because everybody has this social media facade. It's not even just when you talk to people, how they present themselves. It's what they see, and it's all not reality. And it's big challenge for this generation to be able to find their authentic self and be brave enough to break through what everybody's showing and be vulnerable and be themselves and take risks. And if I manage to, show my kids that that's okay by being an example of that, I'll be very proud of it. Yeah.
That's a big one. And I do wonder about today's kids, the piece that you said. I really wonder about that, right? Because, 90s and like even early 2000 are barely, 80s and 90s kids, even for that matter, are barely managing the social media and like real and real life. Kids who are born into it, like who gained their consciousness while reels were flying all over. I don't even know how they look at it. I'm just, at times I'm curious that is it that they were born into it, so they have this automagic understanding of this is real and this is real, or is it that the reality is so altered that they are struggling with, like, at a 10x level as compared to people who still had some semblance of reality, and then they got reels.
Yeah. I think that they go through a journey that eventually they are able to, not all of them. I think there's a real risk of people not being able to tell reality from what they see on a screen. But I think eventually, once they hit a level of maturity, at least from the experience that I've seen with the kids that I've interacted with, they start to realize that life is not like this, and you mentioned FOMO before. Big problem with FOMO in the teenage years. People are really presenting themselves, doing things and seeing things and being things, and you feel the pressure that I need to do the same, be the same, look the same, feel the same. But eventually they grow out of it, and they were able to filter, this is not really reality. And they can come out the other side by embracing real life. But it's a challenge.
Do you think about your brands, the ones that you are synthesizing, they will not relate to teenagers today, or are they relating to teenagers already?
So a lot of teenagers have been vacationing in Greece. I mean, Dubai teenagers at least. There's a lot of flights to Greece.
Yep.
So we do have actually a lot of teen groups coming and having Greek food. And then we have a lot
Nice.
of teen groups that would love to come to Nola, but they can't. I mean, they can come for lunch and dinner, but
No, I mean, I didn't mean, of course, like our teens coming to, but what I mean, okay, let's put that, let's say, 22-year-olds.
yeah.
Are you finding that?
Yeah. I think actually what's really nice about both of the brands is that the demographic is quite diverse, both in terms of nationalities and age groups. So you see youngsters, and you also see in the sort of 60 plus generation as well. It's quite nice.
Mythos definitely has that vibe, but
Well,
I don't
Nola
know if
depends
it's-
on the day. So Thursday, Friday, the weekend vibe is a little bit of a younger demographic. But lunchtime and weekend, like lunchtime, you get more diverse in terms of age group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're secure from Gen Alpha. Is that? I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think so. We're relatable. I think we're relatable to the Gen Alpha.
Michelin star.
I think I would not say no, but it's not our exact. Let's say we don't do things with the mindset of let's get a Michelin star. I know that we just try to be the best that we can be. I know our food is really good. I get that from a lot of people. Feedback and the fact that the business is still going strong.
The fact that Roger Federer was at your
and the
restaurant.
fact that Roger Federer was at our restaurant in the second week. We have a lot of celebrity fans, so yeah. I mean, I'm happy Michelin is here. I think this is a great vibe for the city. Not only Michelin, Go Mio, World 50 Best.
Yeah.
It's brought a lot of excitement. Really good vibe. All the events around it, and I'm very proud of all the restaurants that are being recognized. But like I said, our award is our customer coming back, and being loved by the Dubai scene. So yeah, it's all good.
What do you do for your nourishment? Like for both, for mind. I know what you do for the soul. We talked about it, unless you want to add something to it as well. But what do you do for your mind, for your, like, how do you keep it stimulated, or what is your learning process, if at all?
I've always been appreciative and know that for my mind to work well, my body needs to work well. So I've always done exercise. Even it's challenging to find time. 3 to 4 times a week, 1 hour of exercise is non-negotiable. And I find that the immediate couple of hours after exercising, there's a slower pace of crazy thought, monkey brain, or whatever they want to call it. Like my mind really gets more clarity and settles. I have learned that it's okay to do nothing. And that's very new.
That's new.
Very new.
Tell me more.
It's okay to just take 2 hours and do nothing. Whether it's not exercise, it's not something to do with the kids, just do nothing. I could never do that before. I felt guilt that time should be invested in something more fruitful, more productive. I don't know, just felt terrible doing nothing. So doing nothing is actually a great investment.
How did you come about it?
Um, the like over just my mind and my body were screaming for rest. I just needed rest. So I started by just trying to do that. And rest meant not going to the gym, not going socially, having coffee with someone, nothing.
Not another distraction.
Not another distraction. And I said, I just need to rest. So I started incorporating that. And lately, I have been able to allow myself to do that without feeling bad about it.
What do you do when you're doing nothing?
Sometimes I just sit on the grass. Like I just listen to the birds and not meditate. I'd love to be able to be one of those people who meditate. I have tried. Maybe in a couple of years we'll talk and I'll tell you, I've learned how to meditate, but I'm not there yet. Although I know it's beneficial. I know everybody raves about it, but I can sit on the grass and listen to birds and feel the wind on my face and feel the sunshine on my skin. And, I have a dog, sit with my dog and just an hour, maybe listen to some music and not do anything, not look at my phone. And it's really important. It's been a big change for me. It's been able to
do you take out time for that, or is it hedonistic? Whenever you feel like?
Whenever I feel like it. I don't schedule it. I don't plan it. My days anyway are quite varied. No 2 days really look alike. It's not like I have this schedule. It's always quite different. So whenever I have time. And it's happening now, once a week I can do it. It happens organically. Yeah. So that's what I do. I've learned to do nothing, and I've learned that exercise is very important for me, and friends. So my social life has suffered quite a bit over the last decade, let's say. And in terms of work and life, family, always being
I think
a priority.
restaurateurs also, I think their social life just suffers by design, right? Because all the times when world wants to be social, they are trying to be social at your establishment.
That's right.
Right. So that's not the time for you to be social. That's your work time. Right. So I think world just makes it like it just flips the entire timeline.
Yeah. But yeah, spending quality time with family and friends is really nice, and I love the water also. That's another thing that I berate myself about. We have so much water around us, and I don't have as much time to enjoy it. So every year when I come back after a short summer break, I say this winter I'm going to be enjoying the water. I've done a little bit better this time around than previous times, but that's very therapeutic. Just swimming in the sea.
Yeah. I'm a beach guy as well. So I relate. I don't hate mountains, but I'm not mountains don't call me. Beaches
call you. Yeah. Same.
Fay, this was absolute zen. This was, I think, entrepreneurs by design are restless, and always ambition is always leading much ahead. And that becomes a source of all the euphoria manifesting into anxiety and whatnot. But at the same time, there are entrepreneurs who also go to the brighter side and, start feeling calm in all of those things. The same euphoria can bring in a lot of self-assurance and calmness. I think your brands reflect that. Your work reflects that. This was a great conversation, extremely enriching. Thank you.
Same for me. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.